up next.
We opened our doors with Face Foundry, and I knew I wanted to franchise because the idea of bringing in excited, passionate people and expanding quickly, that was so exciting.
I love that you just highlighted that.
Oh, I love that you used our tagline. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome, Aim. It's an obvious. This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. Hello, and it is Franchise Friday, and the founder I am talking to today is Michele Henry. She's actually the founder and CEO of Face Foundry. Michele, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lance. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you. So the fastest growing woman-owned facial bar in the United States, probably in the world. If it's in the United States, probably the world. So I give you amazing props to that. So how did this all come about? Because I heard at 19 or 20, you were in construction boots, and now it's stilettos. So how did this start?
Stilettos. I still mix in the construction boots. I was just on site on Saturday for one of our builds. So don't get me wrong, I like stilettos in a moment, but I love construction boots at the right time. So yes, I actually grew up in a family business. So I worked for my dad in the construction field I started at 13, learned a lot, didn't get paid for child labor, but started again during college and worked throughout college, and I loved my time in construction, but I did a whole 180. I went to school for apparel design and merchandising and business and art. I had a double major, double minor, which meant that I just really didn't want to grow up or graduate and stay in school forever. And from there, I started a women's clothing chain. And it was right out the gate, fast and furious. We grew very quickly. And by the time I left, we grew to about 25 million in sales, debt-free.
25 million. Pretty amazing.
Thank you. It was so much fun. Learned an absolute ton, but my time there, I was struggling after I had my third baby with a lot of hormonal acne. And I really realized, oh my gosh, I'm taking time out of my day. 9 to 5, you have to book in at a med spa. You're spending so much money on some of these services, and it just was not approachable. That's really when it dawned on me, there has to be a better way, and there has to be a disruption into the facial industry. So it started as a thought back in 2017 because it was a necessity, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And finally I decided, you know what, I'm going to step away from the business I had started, and I signed the purchase agreement to sell my shares of the clothing company is called Primp, and I went full force into Face Foundry. 5 minutes after I signed my purchase agreement, I signed the lease for the Galleria, which was our first location in Edina, Minnesota.
So how did this start? Because there's so many people that are thinking of starting a business or owning a business, and they look at the bucket called creating my own brand, and most people stay really far away from that. Mm-hmm. Then other people look at maybe buying an existing business, maybe, and then of course a franchise. Follow a system, plug and play. You took the most precarious route, really, for the second time.
I did, but I knew that I wanted to franchise that model. I knew that there was consistency, and that it was something I had attempted to do with apparel way back when, and it just wasn't the right business to franchise at the time. For us, we opened our doors with Face Foundry, and I knew I wanted to franchise because the idea of bringing in excited, passionate people and expanding quickly, that was so exciting and something that day one I wanted to capture.
I love that you just highlighted that, because there's a lot of people that I talk to in my world as a franchise broker that say, yeah, I think that brand just wanted a franchise because they wanted money. So, well, it doesn't usually work like that if money is the only reason that a brand really wants to expand. So the fact that you wanted to attract people that really felt like you did and were passionate, that obviously are going to follow your system, but really believed in the concept.
Yes, and like attracts like. I'm a big believer. I'm a big manifester. Like, I can tell, Lance, you're high energy. I'm high energy. Like, I wanted people that were excited about this brand. And the franchisees that have joined us, I mean, yes, we're young, we're about to turn 6, but they were full force. They're so excited, and they're just spreading our mission, in their own communities. So it's really rewarding. And no, if I wanted to do it for money, I mean, that just is not the path to do it. And I think for us, we're continuously reinvesting in the brand with more corporate locations too. And so
Yes.
it's not just a one and done. We want to be lockstep with all of our area developers to understand what are they facing at the size they're at, so we can speak to some of the nuances.
Yeah. All right. So 6 years old, 55 locations or so open and growing. What are the skills or traits of the franchisees that you have now? What are the skills or traits that they possess to make them the top franchisees?
So I will start by saying we are so lucky. I feel like our brand, and I'm sure you get a lot of people on here that say, we have the best franchisees. No, we flat out have the best franchisees. It's
Love it.
hands down. We have passionate, hardworking, committed people that really align with our mission and our values. And that's something we talked about at Discovery Day, making sure that that transparency is there and making sure that it's a good fit, because it's a long commitment. And
Yeah.
we want to set them up for success. And so I think having that passion and that purpose and that excitement to make people feel good, that is hands down what's so important and what makes them so great.
Yeah.
They're also very savvy in marketing. They understand finances, they understand business. Some of them do come from other systems, other franchise systems or other business systems. So they've got a lot of qualities, but those are just a few I would call out, and
Yeah.
very fortunate and grateful for them.
Well, the follow-up question is, where do these passionate, excitable, awesome people come from before you? Some you just said are franchisees of other brands,
Yeah.
but were they, people, doctors or, managers of something? What do they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some were from Fortune 50 companies. Some had been stay-at-home parents. Some were, we do have a few doctors, a few estheticians. Some come from really large franchise systems. So it's really all walks of life, which is
Got it.
exciting because I think you think of, maybe a facial bar. I probably am not qualified because I'm not an esthetician, and that's certainly not the case. And we have a lot of men right now entering into the system because they see the opportunity and they're excited about it.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. So it's all about the face. And you know what? I have to tell you, Michele, I really like your face.
Oh, I love that you used our tagline. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. I mean, it's an obvious. So I love that everything you're doing is about the face, facials, lashes, brows, skincare in general. What else do you have to share? I know there's a membership model, but talk about the brand and the services and roll right into the location.
So you touched on it. Facials, focus facials are really our core service. We also have a very curated selection of products. So we've got products from vendors like PCA or Alta MD. We're one of their largest vendors. We curate our own 7 proprietary SKUs, which is great because it adds extra margins for our franchisees, and we own the formulations and manufacture them right here in Minnesota, which is about, a few miles away from our headquarters. And so that is something that, again, continues to differentiate us. What I love, though, is our brand and our menu is consistent. When you go to different, spas, you might have a different service from each provider. What makes us really special is our protocols are very unique in the sense that they offer consistency. So if you go to, let's say, your facial bar in Las Vegas, or you are going to Sarasota or Sioux Falls, it's always going to be that exact same client journey and the exact same facial process. I think that's something to call out because consistency is huge for us. And then location-wise, our 50th store just opened not that long ago in San Francisco. That's our first California site. We started, yes, thank you. We started in the Midwest. So unlike maybe some of our competitors that started on the coast, we started in the Midwest. we've been fortunate because that clientele is so loyal,
Yeah.
which we appreciate. I mean, what else are you going to do in Minnesota in the dead of winter, right?
Yeah. You know what I also love about that you started in the Midwest, a lot of these concepts that some people might even call trendy at some
Yep.
points, they start on the coast and then people say, well, that's not going to work in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Well, you've proven that out. You have that proof of concept times 20 at this point in
Yes.
smaller cities.
Yes. And our secondary markets have proven just absolutely invaluable. And the feedback we get, the membership base, that model works really well. So we, like I touched on, opened in San Francisco. Now we are opening our 55th location in Plantation, Florida, which is right outside of Fort Lauderdale. Excited, that actually opens tomorrow. And we have about 25 locked in for 2025, oddly enough. And we're ready to go. I think we
Yeah.
finally figured out a lot of our process and our procedures, and we're excited to now expand rapidly.
So how big is a location?
Our perfect square footage is right around that 1,500 square feet mark. We have definitely done smaller and we've definitely done larger, but I think that's kind of the sweet spot when it comes down to base rent and marketing dollars spent,
Yeah.
because we do go for that Class A real estate. So,
Yeah.
for example, our location in South Congress, or on South Congress in Austin, shares a wall with the Hermes store. I never
wow.
thought I would be that close to luxury in retail, so I feel very fortunate. But again, the numbers have to make sense.
Yeah.
We like to partner up with wellness concepts, but really be front and center. So instead of the traditional spa where you're going off on maybe like the second or third street, we are truly front and center, corner of Main and Main.
Yeah, no, that's great. And how many, I know it's an open air concept. There aren't really walls per se that are closing in the space, but how many stations are there and how many people can you service at once?
Yeah, so good call. It is open air. So keeping in mind, we do have curtains that separate, but something that has come up that our clients love is we host face parties.
Yeah.
And so think of your daughter, maybe she's engaged, she wants to have her engagement party there.
Not
She's-
yet. No, not yet.
Oh, okay,
Almost,
sorry.
but not
It's
yet.
her birthday party, and she wants to have all her girlfriends, and instead of going on a wild night out, they want to have a Saturday face party. We close down the store. We make sure that we curate it for that special person. We'll have little gift bags, and it's a great way to bring in friends and family.
That's
So
awesome.
the curtains are a really nice addition for our open air concept.
Yeah. No, so let's talk about investment. What's the investment to get one of these open, including franchise fee, everything?
Yep. So all in costs, $334,000 to $670,000. And that, Lance, is half, if not a third of the price of what our competitors are charging.
Nice. Yeah, and obviously construction costs will vary depending on whether it's some sort of beautiful first generation space, where maybe the landlord's not as generous with tenant improvement money.
I know.
But it's a location you must have. So it does happen. You'll have a wide range there. And talk a little bit about the selection process. So if myself as a broker is sending you somebody or they find you organically or what have you, what is that process that you put them through to know that they are right for you and you're right for them?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely jumping on with Hannah. She's our sales lead.
And I love Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
She's the best, isn't she?
She is.
So jumping on, understanding more about the brand, because you can look at the numbers and you can look at our brand online, but really, I think we've touched on this a bit, but like the alignment with our mission and our values and what we hope to achieve, we need to make sure that that's who the franchisee is and what they want, because it's important as a 10-year commitment. That's a long time. So let's understand first and foremost, do they want to be that owner operator? Typically, our model works really well with owner operators because they are that pillar in their community, and they get other businesses to buy in and get excited as partnerships, and they're just overall that leader that can represent the brand really well. So starting there, if it progresses and both parties are aligned, we will ask that they come up for a discovery day. And again, I think our discovery days our franchisees are the best, but our discovery days are really amazing.
So Discovery Day, I want to call this out. You do
Yeah.
an in-person Discovery Day.
Oh my
There are
gosh, yeah.
there are
We're the face gals. Like, of course we have to do an in-person. We have to be face to face.
And I love it. And I love that because I feel that that's the best way to get to know somebody and understand how you have to get up close and personal. Not just because you're in the face business, but if I was a franchisor today, I'd still love to do the in-person discovery days because you get to know who you're getting in business with. So
It's
I love that you do that because a lot of brands today are not. They're
no.
just rushing into people signing, and maybe not, they don't think they're rushing, and maybe they've done 15 phone calls, but not
Yeah.
being able to shake hands or hug somebody, it's a big difference, right?
So we break it down at Discovery Day. We really get into the nitty gritty of what happens behind the scenes. And from there, you'll meet the team and be able to ask questions, talk about your area. We'll kind of walk through what that development process looks like if it's regionally specific. And then we go to a lot of the different stores in the Twin Cities. We'll take you through iteration, 2.0 to our final iteration, 50.0, which we just completed in Edina. And you'll get to walk the space, understand the layout, and ask questions with our head of development. From there, then you get a service, which who doesn't love a facial at the very end? It's like the cherry on top.
Yes.
And you really then get to wrap the brand as a whole and understand, like, big picture, every single step has been accounted for.
Yeah, good. So in the process of franchisee selection or candidate selection, when do they get an opportunity to speak to existing franchisees about their experience?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. So we have that opportunity early on. We have a lot of different franchise advisory council members that want to speak to potential franchisees. We also just have volunteers that love the brand. So it really is case by case, but especially if they're going to share a market, we encourage that early on.
Yeah. And you just give them a list of people to call and say, call whoever you want, or there are
Yep.
people that have
Or Hannah
volunteered?
will connect them. If it's a larger developer and they're looking at what does the process look like,
Got
walk
it.
me through how I can get to 25 locations. We'll put them in contact with people that are, on the same page as them. If they are looking to do 1 or 2 locations, we can also partner them with the correct franchisees.
Yeah, that validation piece I find incredibly important because obviously franchisees are not bound by the franchise disclosure document. They're allowed to speak freely if they feel comfortable, of course, to share about their experience, which is just an amazing part of the process to feel that you fit culturally, that other people are like you, and you could also be successful knowing nothing about a facial bar to becoming a facial expert, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And our franchisees, they are champions of the brand. So I would be surprised if anyone's out there not excited because we truly vet them very well and we
Yeah.
want them to be cheerleaders.
So I have to ask, Michele, what percentage of current owners have invested in more than one location thus far?
90 to 95% at least are area developers. So we have very few that only have one unit.
That's awesome.
And it's like having kids, right?
Yeah.
The first, you're so nervous, you try to do everything right, you learn a whole bunch, and then by the time you open your third unit or have your third baby, you're like, okay, this is a little bit easier.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing and a great testament to you and your team that there are a lot of people out there that I've worked with over the years in the world of franchising that are like, well, I'll do one location of this or one territory of this home service brand and see how it goes. And I always caution people that you really should know that you're going to be successful. There is a process to determine that you can be successful. When I joined Wingstop in the beginning, it wasn't really a great brand, but it became a great brand. So if anything, it should get better than what it is. And clearly people are seeing that in Face Foundry.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a good question for potential franchisees. What can I bring to this young growing brand to make it better? And I think that's something, they often think, okay, what is the franchisor going to do for me? But really, it's a two-way street. We want to make it better. We're not just set in our ways. Let's, a high tide rises all ships.
That's it. Absolutely. So you mentioned that franchisees, and you mentioned this before we even hit record here, that your franchisees are your lifeblood. You have a franchise advisory council. So tell us all about really what franchisees mean to you and how that franchise advisory council is crucial.
Yeah, the Franchise Advisory Council has helped shape so many business decisions and really solidify a plan of action or a roadmap that we want to lay out, and we want to make sure that they get behind. So, and they even bring us so many ideas, and we've implemented many ideas that they've brought, and the system has gotten better because of it. With the statement, our franchisees are our lifeblood, truly, our franchisees are building this brand with us. We have some franchisees that signed on, month one when we started franchising, and we only had 3 locations, and they are thriving and they're growing, and it's really exciting to see. And they believed in us when we were a really small emerging brand, and I give them so much credit because it takes a real special person to dive in and to believe in the concept. So I give them a lot of credit for our brand and where it's gotten us this far and how far we're going to get in the future.
And that early franchisee got to see you in construction boots more than anyone else.
They all get to see me in construction boots because when I come there and they're still in the build-out process, I like being comfortable.
Do you still have a custom hard hat too?
No, I never got the hard hat. My dad never gave me one, which, again, feels like a liability.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, well, never mind. I'm not going to say it. Talk a little bit about the purchasing aspects for products and what have you, and what happens in this process. You're obviously helping them with site selection. You approve the location. You have a real estate team that's going to, but walk us through all that in the store setup with the inventory and what have you.
Yeah, actually this last year we moved to a third party to make ordering super seamless, and it's been really well received, and it makes that store setup a breeze. We also have the option that franchisees can elect to have one of our team members come out, especially for that initial store setup, to help them, guide them through exactly what needs to be done from back bar, back room representation versus upfront merchandising. Our SKU count is fairly low, so you have to keep in mind it's not like you're going in to set up a Target. Our SKUs are pretty easy. We come up with a merchandising manual, and it's very intuitive. We also have everything available online with pictures and then other resources, whether it's team members or other franchisees that have a similar retail footprint so they can mirror it.
Yeah, that sounds fabulous. Talk about marketing. Marketing, as you are well aware,
so important.
The overall support and marketing are 2 of the biggest categories, if you will, that new franchisees especially are most concerned with. How are they going to support me, and what are they doing to bring me my customers or our customers?
Great question, and definitely something we always put our franchisee hat on, and we try to figure out exactly what would be needed from a marketing standpoint and a support standpoint. There are franchisees that step in that maybe marketing is their absolute passion, they understand it, they're really big on social. We kind of meet franchisees where they're at. So if marketing is within their wheelhouse and they want to run with it, that's fantastic. On the flip side, if you're a little bit nervous about marketing, we offer great tutorials. Part of our ops training, we do marketing training. And then we also have what is on an online portal where it's essentially a platform similar to Canva, if you've ever heard of it, where we create a lot of the marketing assets and they can build off of it. So let's
Great.
say, Lance, you're having a special event and you need graphics quickly. You can go on that portal and create it, and it's all going to be aligned with our brand, the fonts, the colors, everything, and photos. So really, you can't really screw it up, or you can enlist us to do it and you just plug it into the online portal.
I've been known to be able to screw up the easiest things, Michele.
That's okay. Then that's perfect, because then you go online to our portal that is a special franchisee login, and you say, you know what, guys, I need this asset. I need to print it off. I also want it in store. And within 5 days, we just turn it around and you'll get it.
Awesome. No, and that's, I mean, look, everybody, I love that you're willing to customize that and meet people where they are, because there are people, when I was a Wingstop franchisee and a Krispy Kreme franchisee, they had their skills, and there were plenty of people I knew that had marketing skills that insisted on doing certain things with their agency. But obviously you have an amazing social media presence. I saw your Instagram and I was looking at different things, and that's going to bring a lot of business for people in general, right?
Yeah, it's been great. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. I'm a little bit of the queen of tangents, so I'll try to keep it
No, good.
on course. But our Bismarck and Fargo franchisee, she actually found us through Instagram because she searched the hashtag brow lamination. And then she found out, oh my gosh, it's right here. Oh, wait, it's a franchise. I could open one. So the power of social media, don't underestimate it, because it's worked well for us, obviously from a client-facing standpoint, but also franchisees finding us that way.
I love it. No, that's fabulous. Perfect. So how many more stores are you opening? Here it is, 2025 already. How many are you opening this year?
We have 25 committed in 2025, oddly enough. I think we'll be able to get more. My development team says stop pushing me, but I'm pushing for a few more than 25. And then we have 150 that we will have open and projected by the end of 2027.
So what about new product development? When you talked about the FAC, the Franchise Advisory Council, earlier, I would imagine in some of those meetings, there's always a different franchisee that says, you know, I had somebody today ask me for fill in the blank, whatever it might be. Is it, you're always looking at what could be added, obviously, that fits.
Yes. And they have had a pretty big part of our roadmap for our new product innovation. So they are beta testing certain things that then we roll out at our franchising convention in April, and then our new menu launch in August. So FAC members, they are bringing it to us and saying, this is what's been requested. I love that feedback. I think feedback is truly a gift.
Yes.
And we want to know what clients are asking for, right? Because if we can't provide it, then they're likely going somewhere else. And of course, it has to make sense from a monetary standpoint. But it's something we're constantly looking on how we can innovate.
You know, Michele, for those that have stayed with us in this conversation, let's talk about money.
Yeah.
So people invest in a franchise, hence I use the word invest, in a franchise because there's an expectation of a profit. Talk about your item 19. And for those listening, the franchise disclosure document is a document that's given to everybody exploring any franchise. And there are 23 items. Item 19 is the earnings claim. So, Michele, what say you about that? Some highlights for everybody.
Yeah. So we already talked about item 7. I think, just calling out.
Which is the investment.
Which is the initial investment. So anyone that's new to franchising, make sure you're looking at that item 7. We talked about the initial investment, which is at $334. Now, the item 19 is where you get to see and capture all of the sales. Keeping in mind that we are a young growing system, our item 19, our average unit volume for a store that's been open 12 months is $852,000. Now, we are just hitting our 6-year mark, and our Edina location, we're excited to see that we have not plateaued. We are still seeing continuous growth.
That's amazing. The average, I'll never forget Wingstop in the early days. The average store did $600,000, with an incredibly high food cost. I was crazy to get into it.
Wait, it was $600,000 you said?
$600,000 at Wingstop. That was the average unit volume when I got into Wingstop.
Walk me through. I mean, now Now it's we're turning the tables. Walk me through what the average margin was for these stores.
It was terrible. So a food cost in a restaurant in the old days, if you were 32% in food cost, that was a little bit high for a quick serve type restaurant. That was more for a sit down restaurant. And Wingstop was like 36% just in food cost.
Wow.
Crazy.
Well,
yeah.
Clearly you being the president of the Franchise Advisory Council and jumping in, I mean, look at what you did to help that brand. Now they're just on this big tear.
It was fun, and we definitely helped it. So, but I love what you're doing, and I love where you are today. Top three reasons for an aspiring entrepreneur to pick Face Foundry.
Yeah, great question. I would say, one, we're passionate and we're excited about making people feel good. We're building people's confidence. And what we say is we are changing the world one facial at a time. That's number one. Number two, we've got really strong brand strength. And like you had touched on, strong marketing materials and overall a nice design aesthetic that is gender neutral. I think that's another one. And number three, which of course we touched on right at the end, but our AUVs are very strong and they're continuing to grow. So if you, like I said before, you can have the best business idea in the world, but you have to have the metrics and the numbers to back it up. And I think we certainly have that.
Michele, some people are born entrepreneurs and other people have to develop those skills. Were you born with this?
That is a great question. I feel like I nurtured maybe some of the skills I was born with because I grew up in a family business. So I definitely think that there was some underlying excitement for entrepreneurship, but I certainly saw the hard work it took firsthand growing up in a family business. So to answer your question, I think it's nature and nurture.
Yes, love it. I always say it was, was it a lab accident gone wrong? Like Spider-Man or something, and boom, you're an entrepreneur and you can shoot webs. No, I don't think so. No, Michele, you've been amazing. Final thoughts, final words of wisdom for the audience on Face Foundry or anything for that matter.
I'm a big manifester, so my closing thought would just be, keep the faith, keep manifesting whatever dream you have, you can do it. I think it's important to put hard work, passion, and dedication behind anything you do and keep manifesting.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here. Michele Henry, Face Foundry, founder and CEO. You were awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Lance.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.